Do you want to know how bigoted the Trump administration is? Because I'm about to tell you. It's been deleting all references to black and female soldiers. That includes from the DoD website, it includes from the White House website, and I think most appallingly from the Arlington National Cemetery. These are people who fought and, in some cases, literally died for America. They've won awards for heroism, and they're being deleted from history because in Trump's America, you are not allowed to be black or a woman and have contributed to the country. And last night, I saw a really shocking example of it. It eliminated pages commemorating a guy named Charles Calvin Rogers, a black man. Rogers retired as a brigadier general, but in Vietnam, he won the Medal of Honor, America's highest medal of valor, because he defended his base from 3 separate assaults while being severely wounded 3 times. But he's a black man, so it doesn't count. And now, if you Google him, here's what his page on the Department of Defense website says. It's listing him as having the DEI Medal of Honor, as if they only gave it to him because he's black. And that's where America is now. That's how bigoted these people are. If you're black, if you're a woman, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're anything but a straight white man, anything you've got, anything you've been given, anything you've won has been given to you because you're one of those groups. Not only are they saying that prejudice and bigotry don't exist, but also the only people who can validly achieve anything are white men. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Otherwise, DEI. And somehow that even includes people who have gone out onto the battlefield and been shot and killed for their country. If we acknowledge them, somehow it's DEI. It's white male supremacy straight up. The only valid citizens are white men. Everyone else is suspect. Everyone else is second class. This has explicitly become the ideology of the Trump administration. No one has any place here but white men. And everyone else, black, brown, gay, trans, non-citizen, female, you not only have nothing to contribute to the country, according to the Trump administration, but you should be deleted from history if you had contributed something previously. You should be deleted and forgotten.
Let me say this. They have tried to erase black history, they have tried to erase black people, but all they erase is their own lines. All they erase is their own culture.
Family, please listen to something that Donald Trump said in regards to our National History African American Museum and History and Culture in D.C. You know that he is removing many of the artifacts out of there, return them to their owners, because he says museums in our nation's capital should be places where individuals go to learn, not to be subjected to ideological indoctrination or divisive narratives that distort our shared history. First of all, that is such ignorance. So you're saying that you want to remove what really happened in American history because it's divisive, but yet you all had a problem when we were telling you all you need to remove the Confederate flags, remove these Confederate statues because they were divisive. You know, when I first saw this, that what the president and many of his racist cohorts are trying to do, they're trying to erase us. We know that. And at first I got angry and then I got nervous, but then I got quiet. And I said, you know what? God is not going to allow this. Black people will never be erased. And more so, our ancestors won't. See, white people, I'm explaining something to you all, especially you racist white folk. God has given you all ample enough time to turn away and repent from your evil, wicked ways. And also to repent on behalf of your ancestors. But you still refuse to do it. And you still sit in your white evangelical nationalist churches and preach this God of love. But yet you want to erase history. If your history is so bad and you are so good now, why can't you teach that, hey, this is what we used to be. This is how we used to treat blacks. This is how we used to treat Native Americans. This is how we used to treat Jews. But now we have learned. You know why you can't do that? Because you have not learned. You haven't. I'm telling you, white folk, your day of reckoning is coming. But it's not coming from where you think. See, our ancestors have been quiet in their graves. They have been quiet. And see, many of you all, you don't believe in all of that, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you what I know. You keep removing our artifacts. Removing our artifacts from this museum is like troubling a cemetery. And I'm telling you now, God is not pleased and the ancestors are not pleased. See, we battle a spiritual war, right? So you can sit up here all day long and read your Bibles and quote your little verses while you sit in your white churches, drive your little Harley Davidson gang to your white churches while you sit in the pews drinking your coffee and looking so smug and arrogant. But when judgment starts falling on your home and on your church and on your people, Don't look at us. Because God said, I've given these people enough time, and they still have not repented for the sins of their forefathers. And for that, judgment must come. So black folk, this is a little troubling that they're going to remove stuff. But hey, we're not attached to things, right? It doesn't matter. Because you can take away artifacts, you can do whatever you want, but you can never take away the sincerity, the passion, the vigor, the brilliance of our people. And you damn sure not going to stop our next generation. Racist white folk, watch yourself. You are sinners in the hands of an angry God, and he is not pleased with you.
Watch this. Now, let me tell you something powerful today, my family. When people try to erase you, it's because that your truth is stronger than the entire system. When people try to erase you, it's because you are a threat to expose their lies. Grand Rising Kings and Queens, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. I love you and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this YouTube channel once again. Subscribe and you can send super thanks. Thanks for supporting my ministry. Hallelujah. Now, today I just want to unpanic something here. It has been heavy on my heart, and I've been going through social media and I've saw videos where white America or America, Donald Trump trying to put policies that is trying to erase black people. They are trying to erase the history of black people, the real history of black people. And I said, why not? Let's talk about it, because how white America is desperately trying to erase black history, it is shocking, okay? They are not realizing that they are erasing the only thing that had held their identity together, because our only history, our black history, is the only thing that have held their identity together for generations, or their whole identity and their culture, okay? It is the only history that has held their own supremacy. Now, let's talk about this. White America is not trying to erase black history because it's irrelevant. No. They are trying to erase black history because black history exposes the truth about America, because black history exposes the lie of white innocence, because black history destroys the myth of white superiority, and black history reveals who the real builders of civilization were. If I quote Professor Gerald Horne said it the best, he said that the story of America collapses the moment African people tell the truth. And that's why the system panics, that's why the system fight, that's why they erase. Not because we are weak as black people, but because our origin, because our brilliance, our inventions, our civilizations, our resistance threaten everything they have been taught to believe about themselves. Let's watch these clips here, and then we're going to come back here and talk more about this, because I have a lot to say. And please, please, please don't forget to subscribe. Let's hit 100K subscribers.
When Trump calls museums the last segment of woke, what he's really saying is stop talking about America's racism. Stop talking about slavery. Stop talking about the truth. But museums are supposed to tell us the whole story. You can't erase slavery, racism, or oppression just because it makes some people uncomfortable. That's not being woke. That's just being honest. Think about how absurd this is. He's upset that museums remind people how bad slavery was. That's not woke nonsense. That's American history. And ignoring it doesn't make us stronger. It keeps us stuck. Calling truth woke is just a way to silence progress. If we want a better future, we have to face our past.
The reason why they keep trying to repatriate us to Africa and keep trying to convince black Americans to go to Africa is so that they can erase us as a group of people. Think about it. If we all disperse to the African continent, the Caribbeans, or wherever, and we're no longer in America, then black American would no longer exist. Then they can successfully remove us from the history books. They can successfully remove all of our accomplishments. They can successfully make it as if we were never here. As if we were never here. As if 500 years of us doing shit just no longer existed. An entire group of people, the global impact that we have made on the world, right? our influence, our music, our food, our cultural things, et cetera, would just no longer exist. It would no longer exist. If they didn't move us to a spot where it was all 50 million of us in one spot, which is likely not what would happen, right? Some of us would be here, some of us would be there, some of us would be here, some of us would be there. Boom. Black American is gone. Because if y'all think about it, they don't like what we did. They don't like how a group of people facing an insurmountable amount of oppression, suppression, right? Marginalization, being socioeconomically disadvantaged, et cetera, have achieved and accomplished the things that we did. We are literally a rose that grew through concrete. Okay? And they don't like that. They don't even know how the fuck we did it. They don't know how the fuck we did it. They don't know how we turned every negative into a positive, how we became not only a people, but a nation and a brand. Black Americans are recognizable all over the world. All over the world. We have people walking like us, talking like us, dressing like us, looking like us, saying the things that we say, doing the things that we do. That's why on this app and many other apps, they work incredibly hard to lessen our visibility. Okay? But we still seem to come through even through that. So what they're trying to do is find a way to make it to where we no longer exist. And they can't, unalive all of us. They can't just do one big G side. Okay? They can't just mass imprison every single one of us. They can't do that. What they can do is convince us to relocate. Okay? And if we look at the people from the places that we knew Black Americans went, whatever Black American culture they had is minimal now. Look at Liberia. Look at Nova Scotia. Look at the Bahamas, which no shade to y'all, people who are from there. Look at Sierra Leone. And no shade to y'all people who are from there. But they're not Black American no more. Not as we know it. Right? They have little glimpses of it that pops out, but they're not Black American. Okay? And that's what they want to happen. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Because if you think about it, and we were to actually be real, Black Americans became more globally influential than white Americans. If we were to be all the way real and really think about it, our influence carries so much, we started influencing them. A lot of the things that they do, honestly and truthfully, came from us. Black soul food. That's not soul food. That's Southern American food. That's not BAVE. That's Gen Z slang. Country music came from Black people. Jazz came from Black people. Rock came from Black people. Everything, damn near everything came from us. A lot of the fashion trends came from us. And we talking way back. Since way, way, way back. Okay? And that's why. That's why we became bigger than the program. We became bigger than the motherfucking program, baby. We the bee's knees everywhere that we go. And it went to other places and influenced them. Think about what the Black soldiers did during World War II. World War I, they introduced fried chicken to Koreans. But the only thing that white Americans can say that they influenced the world with is destabilizing motherfucking countries and shit. But us, we can say positive ways in which we impacted the world. We became bigger than the program. We made it to where America is like we're David Ruffin in Day the Temptations. So they want to erase us. They want to erase us, y'all. They want to act like we was never here. That's what's really going on.
Part of the reason that it really scares me and bothers me when people seek to erase the African history and lineages of African Americans is because it plays into white supremacy. I'm going to read some words from W.E.B. Du Bois on this. In order to establish the righteousness of this point of view, science, religion, government, and industry were wheeled into line. The word Negro was used for the first time in the world's history to tie color to race and blackness to slavery and degradation. The white race was pictured as pure and superior, the black race as dirty, stupid, and inevitably inferior. A system at first conscious and then unconscious of lying about history and distorting it to the disadvantage of the Negroids became so widespread that the history of Africa ceased to be taught.
The real reason white people want to erase the history of slavery is because given the chance, they would absolutely do it again. While not all of us subscribe to this system, a lot do. That's why they like our current president, because he consistently, without fail, reinforces the hierarchy of white people on top, followed by everybody else, of native citizens on top, followed by everybody else. I consider white supremacy to be one of the most dangerous domestic threats in the United States. Because if you didn't know, there are estimated this many active members in white supremacist organizations. People like your pastor, your neighbor, maybe someone you've seen giving looks to people of color but not necessarily saying anything. White people try to downplay the effects of white supremacy, but it's significantly more people than they will admit. And those are just the people who are overtly racist and willing to label themselves as part of this organization, not even the other people who genuinely believe in it without speaking on it. Point being, erasing the history of slavery and erasing the horrible atrocities that happened in this country is a genuine crime. And it's intentional, because if it's erased, those patterns are going to repeat themselves. So erasing this history isn't just ignorant, it's malicious.
What if I told you that white Christianity in America wasn't just complicit in racism, but helped build the system itself? Now, this is going to mess with some folks' theology, but it's still the truth. For most of American history, the Jesus preached in white churches didn't oppose racism, but defended it. In fact, Jesus was used to justify slavery. Oh yes, in case you didn't know, there was a Jesus conjured by racist white Christians in America. The Jesus conjured by most white congregations was not merely indifferent to racial inequality. He demanded its defense as part of the natural, divinely ordained order of things. And white Christians didn't just stand by during segregation, slavery, and lynchings. White Christians led it. Pastors, deacons, Sunday school teachers, they were all a part of the machine. And white Christian churches have not only been complicit in racism, segregation, lynchings, Jim Crow, but in many cases, they've been responsible for constructing and maintaining white supremacy in America. And I'll give you an example of this that your Sunday school teacher probably never taught you. In 1785, 1/5 of Catholics in Maryland were enslaved black people, owned by white Catholics and white Catholic institutions. The church didn't just pray over slavery, it profited from it. And if you think it just happened only in the South, you're mistaken. And in the 1940s, Harlem, black Catholics were forced into one parish no matter where they lived. And at other parishes, they would place white priests on the steps with a bullwhip to keep them out if they tried to come in. And this book says it all, says it in plain English. White Christianity's theological core has been structured to protect white dominance, and that legacy isn't just history, it's measurable right now. White Christians, it's time. It's well beyond time for you to reckon with the racism of the past and the willful amnesia of our present. This isn't about guilt. This is about truth. This is about reckoning, because healing and forgiveness requires honesty. Read White Too Long by Robert P. Jones, and then ask yourself, what kind of Jesus are you following? Grace and peace.
One way of erasing black people from the historical record was by acting like they weren't even there, and that's something I talked about in an earlier TikTok. Another way that white mainstream newspapers erased the black presence was by referring to black people just by color and associating that color with either criminality or foolishness, and very rarely with something positive. Here are some examples to make my point. Colored man convicted of stealing plants. Now, later in the article, they might tell you his name, but the point has already been made in the headline that what you need to know is that the man who committed the crime wasn't white. Ditto, you have colored man convicted of highway robbery, colored woman tried for larceny, colored woman gets 1 year in jail. These examples that I just told you about are from more than 100 years ago, but we still see this pattern today, where for people of color, race gets highlighted when there's crime or the suspicion of crime involved.
Welcome back. Now, breaking or erasing black people. The erasing machine did not start lately in 2020. Did not start with Donald Trump, DJT. No. They didn't start with the banning of books. This began the moment enslaved Africans arrived in America. And here's the formula they used. Erase African origins. They told black Americans, you come from nothing. They told black Americans that you have no history before slavery. And meanwhile, African civilization like Mali, Kemet, Songhai, Nubia, and Great Zimbabwe were older than America itself. Number two, they erased African achievement. They hid that black people build mathematics. They hid that black people build astronomy, medicine, architecture, and philosophy. Number three, erase black resistance. They minimized Nat Turner. They minimized Queen Ziga. They minimized the Maroons, the Haitian Revolution, because it was showing black power. Okay? So they erased that. Again, erased black inventions. They act like America magically invented itself. They act like America built everything with their own mind. Okay? But refrigeration, traffic lights, elevators, blood banks, modern agriculture, it's all the work of black people. What they do again, erase black trauma. Now, they don't want to talk about lynching. They don't want to talk about Tulsa. They don't want to talk about redlining. They don't want to talk about mass incarceration. There's a speech of DJT. He said that we need to do away with the woke history of America. Meaning what? You need to do away with the real history of America, that it was built on top of blood of the natives. It was built by the backs and sweat of black people. That's what you don't want to hear. Now, family, let me talk about politics a little bit, because the moment DJT entered the scene, this erasure wasn't just cultural. It became legislation, it became policy, it became government messaging. Okay? Because DJT attack on critical race theory, it's important. Critical race theory isn't even taught in K-12 schools. It is a law school discipline created by black scholars like Derek Bell. But DJT didn't care. He declared war on anything that acknowledged slavery. He declared war on anything that acknowledged racism, white privilege, systematic oppression, and etc. So DJT labeled it an American propaganda. Okay? Now, DJT created the 1776 Commission, a fake history board trying to rewrite slavery as a necessary evil, and that helped America grow. Okay? Professors across the country destroyed that report in 24 hours, but the message was clear. Erase the black story, reinforce the white myth. Again, DJT pushed the ideas that talking about racism is racist. How can talking about racism can be racist? How do we supposed to call out racism behaviors? Anytime just black people spoke truth, DJT said that you are dividing the country, you are ungrateful, you hate America. And this is psychological warfare. If you silence the victim, then the abuser looks innocent. Number 3, DJT normalized white fear. Because when DJT said they are trying to take your country, he wasn't talking about black people. He was telling white America. But truth is, or truth equals to white extinction. And that message transformed erasing black history into a political movement. After DJT, the floodgates open. How? Because once DJT opened that door, of a frightened governor, of a frightened senator, schools board, and mayor walked through it. Let me break that down. Number one, they banned books. The modern banning of black memory. Books being banned include the autography of Malcolm X, include the Toni Morrison Beloved, include the MLK writings, books of Harriet Tubman, books of that talks on Africa, books teaching slavery accurately. So they claim it's to protect children, but no, that one is to protect white adults from guilty. Again, we talk about anti-DEI laws, destroying black opportunity. DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. So white lawmakers say that DEI is racist against white people. Okay? And that translation is that helping black people is oppression. Helping white people is fairness. Is that how it is? Because these laws end black scholarship. Erasing DEI means that black studies, ending black studies department, meaning ending African American history programs, meaning ending diversity hiring roles. So this is state-sponsored erasure. Okay? Again, we talk about curriculum wars, whitewashing slavery again. You know, some states now teach slaves gained useful skills. Slavery was a necessary institution. Racism is a thing of the past. But this is not just wrong, this is evil. Professor Claudion Gay said that when you erase history, then you erase accountability. And the reason why white America is really doing this is because none of this is just random. It's because this is not about protecting kids or protecting unity. This is about, or not about patriotism. This is just about preserving a dying identity. So white America built its identity on being the heroes, the founders, the civilizers, the inventors, the superior group. But the moment you tell the truth, black civilization existed before Europe, or black people built America, or black culture dominates the world, or black resistance shook empires, then the myth collapses. So what do? They don't fix their identity. They don't heal their insecurity. They simply erase the truth. Okay? Now, erasing black history is erasing white history too. That's what I said. How? When you erase slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, anti-black terrorism, indigenous removal, then you are erasing the entire origin story of America. You cannot tell American story without telling black history. If they erase black people, they erase their ancestors who enslaved people. They erase their founding fathers who owned slaves. They erased their institution built on stolen labor. They erased their wealth created by black labor. They erase the truth. Okay? But erasing that, it is erasing themselves with it. Because a country built on lies can only survive if the lies only survives. Okay? And here's the part that burns them the most. The world is waking up, okay? Africa is rising. Black Americans are uniting. The African diaspora is connecting, okay? Young white Americans are rejecting racism. Scholars are exposing whitewashed history. Social media has killed the old narrative forever. Okay? The genie is out of the bottle. You cannot erase what is globally available. You cannot hide what is recorded. You cannot bury what is resurrected. Because black truth is the most powerful weapon on earth. Let me honor some brilliant minds who expose the truth. Dr. John Henry Clark's. I love this guy. He talked about how to control a people. You must control what they think about their history. When you talk about Dr. Ben Jochanan, that black people didn't start at slavery, talked about Angela Davis, talked about Dr. Molefi. These are the great minds and great thinkers, professors who destroyed whitewashing. Okay? So when white America bans black history, they are not just fighting information. They are fighting intellectual giants who refuses to let the truth die. Now, the reason why this erasure will fail, because it's not going to pass. They can ban books, they can pass laws, they can cry about DEI, they can police classrooms, but they cannot stop history, because black history does not live in their approval. Black history lives on our memory of black people. It lives on our bloodline. The DNA of black people lives in Africa and lives in the diaspora. You cannot erase a people rooted across the entire planet. Okay? But black people, we must be so much vigilant and careful. Let's teach our children at home. Never rely on the system to teach your child truth. Buy them African history books, diaspora history books, civil rights books, black philosophy, African American inventors, Caribbean revolution stories, because knowledge is inheritance. Another thing, we should support black schools and educators. We need more black teachers. We need more black-run curriculum. We need more African-centered education. We need more homeschooling communities. Okay? Now, we must build independent black media. Let's have some YouTube channels like this are more powerful today than newspapers in the 1960s, because we control the narrative now and use it. Number two, let's connect Africa and the diaspora. When African people unite across continents, then white supremacy loses global power. So we must strengthen travel, we must strengthen investment, we must strengthen culture, collaboration, and education. Number five, support black authors, filmmakers, researchers. If they ban them, we buy them. If they silence them, we amplify them. Again, we must demand accurate textbook and challenge laws. Never stay silent. Pressure works. That's all I have today. And let me tell you this thing. If you have watched this video to the end, I have a message for you. I am doing such a business. I have a land here in Africa. I bought a land. I want to start a chicken business, egg business here. It's a big land. So if you want to talk about that, hit me. You know where to find me. On my email is there on the description. Let's talk about that. If you're a black American, you want to invest in Kenya, you want to start a farming industry, come, let's link.